You know what nobody tells you? That motivation is a liar. It shows up when you don't need it and disappears the moment things get hard. You wake up excited on Monday, ready to change your life. By Wednesday, you're back on the couch, scrolling through your phone, wondering why you can't just stick to anything. And here's the brutal truth. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because no one ever taught them how to build the one skill that separates dreamers from achievers: consistency. Today, we're diving deep into The Consistency Compass by LadderUp, a book that's going to show you exactly why your brain sabotages your goals, and more importantly, how to rewire it so you can finally become the person you keep promising yourself you'll be. So who's LadderUp, and why should you care about what they have to say? LadderUp isn't just some random author trying to sell you another self-help fantasy. They've spent years researching behavioral psychology, studying why people fail at building habits, and breaking down the neuroscience behind human motivation. But more than that, they've lived it. They've been in the trenches, trying to build a business while working a soul-crushing 9-to-5. They've felt the shame of breaking promises to themselves over and over again. And that's what makes the Consistency Compass different. This isn't a book written by someone who's never struggled. It's written by someone who understands what it's like to feel stuck, to want more, but to keep falling back into the same patterns. Someone who figured out the system and decided to share it with the world. Now, why does this book matter right now, in 2025, in America, where everyone's hustling but nobody's winning? Because we live in the most distracted era in human history. We've got 1,000 apps designed to steal our attention, algorithms that know us better than we know ourselves, and a culture that glorifies quick wins and overnight success. Everyone wants results yesterday. Nobody wants to put in the work today. And that's the problem the Consistency Compass solves. It teaches you how to show up when you don't feel like it, how to build momentum when everything in your life is pulling you backward, how to finally stop relying on motivation and start trusting in a system that actually works. Core idea number 1, the motivation myth. Let's start with the biggest lie you've ever been told, that motivation is the key to success. Think about it. How many times have you watched a motivational video, felt fired up, told yourself, "This is it," and then did absolutely nothing the next day? How many times have you set a goal on New Year's Eve, only to abandon it by February? Here's what the Consistency Compass reveals. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions are unreliable. Imagine trying to build a house on quicksand. That's what it's like to rely on motivation. Some days it's there, most days it's not. And every time it disappears, you blame yourself. You think something's wrong with you. You think you're weak or undisciplined. But you're not weak. You're just using the wrong fuel. LadderUp explains that your brain is wired for survival, not success. It wants comfort. It wants easy. It wants to conserve energy, because for thousands of years, that's what kept humans alive. Your ancestors didn't need to go to the gym or write a business plan. They needed to find food, avoid danger, and rest. So when you try to do something hard, like waking up early, working on your goals, or learning a new skill, your brain hits the panic button. It says, "Why are we doing this? This is uncomfortable. This is risky. Let's stop." And that's the moment motivation dies. But here's the game changer. Consistency doesn't need motivation. Consistency is built on systems, on small daily actions that compound over time. It's brushing your teeth even when you don't feel like it. It's showing up even when nobody's watching. Real life example? Imagine you want to get in shape. If you rely on motivation, you'll hit the gym hard for 2 weeks, burn out, and quit. But if you build a system, say 10 push-ups every morning before your coffee, you're not depending on how you feel, you're depending on a routine, and routines don't care about your mood. That's the first compass point. Stop chasing motivation, start building systems. Core idea number 2, the power of micro-actions. Now let's talk about why most people set goals and fail within days. You've probably heard this advice before. Dream big, set massive goals, go all in. Sounds inspiring, right? But here's the problem. Your brain doesn't work that way. When you set a huge goal, like I'm going to lose 50 pounds, or I'm going to write a book, your brain looks at the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and it freaks out. The distance feels impossible, the effort feels exhausting. So instead of taking action, you procrastinate, you scroll social media, you watch Netflix, anything to avoid that overwhelming feeling. The consistency compass introduces a concept called micro-actions. These are tiny, almost laughably small steps that your brain can't resist. For example, instead of saying, I'm going to write a book, you say, I'm going to write 1 sentence today. Instead of, I'm going to run 5 miles, you say, I'm going to put on my running shoes. Why does this work? Because your brain loves easy wins. When you complete a micro-action, your brain releases a little hit of dopamine, the same chemical that makes you feel good. And that dopamine creates momentum. 1 sentence becomes 2. Putting on your shoes leads to a walk around the block. That's the second compass point. Make the first step so small that your brain can't say no. Core idea number 3, the identity shift. Here's where things get deep. Most people try to change their actions without changing their identity, and that's why they fail.
Let me explain. You want to lose weight, so you start going to the gym. But deep down, you still see yourself as someone who's out of shape. You still identify as the person who quits. So when things get hard, you default back to who you believe you are. Ladder Up explains that lasting change doesn't come from willpower, it comes from identity. If you want to be consistent, you can't just act consistent. You have to become someone who values consistency. You have to shift how you see yourself. Think about it like this. Imagine 2 people trying to quit smoking. One person says, I'm trying to quit. The other says, I'm not a smoker. Who do you think is more likely to succeed? The second person, because they've already shifted their identity. They don't see themselves as a smoker who's struggling to quit. They see themselves as a non-smoker, and non-smokers don't smoke. Same thing applies to everything. You don't want to try to be disciplined. You want to become someone who is disciplined. You don't want to work on being consistent. You want to be someone for whom consistency is non-negotiable. Here's a practical exercise from the book. Every time you complete a small action toward your goal, say to yourself, this is what someone like me does. You wake up early, this is what someone like me does. You skip the junk food, this is what someone like me does. You work on your side hustle after a long day, this is what someone like me does. Over time, those small declarations reprogram your brain. You start to believe it, and when you believe it, consistency becomes automatic. That's the third compass point. Change your identity, and your actions will follow. Core idea number 4, the compound effect. Let's talk about patience, or more specifically, why nobody has it anymore. We live in an instant gratification world. You want food? Order it. It's at your door in 30 minutes. You want entertainment? Open Netflix. 10,000 shows at your fingertips. You want validation? Post a photo. Likes roll in within seconds. But success doesn't work that way. The consistency compass dives deep into the compound effect, the idea that small actions repeated over time create exponential results. But here's the catch. You don't see those results right away. In fact, for weeks or even months, it feels like nothing is happening. This is where most people quit. They work hard for 2 weeks, don't see results, and think this isn't working. But Ladder Up uses a brilliant analogy. Imagine you're pushing a giant boulder. At first, it doesn't budge. You push and push and push. Your muscles ache, you're sweating, and the boulder barely moves an inch. You start thinking this is pointless. But then, after enough consistent effort, the boulder tips, and once it tips, it rolls. And once it rolls, it picks up speed. Suddenly, you're not pushing anymore. You're just guiding. That's the compound effect. The beginning is always the hardest, but if you stay consistent, there comes a point where momentum takes over. Real-life example. Think about someone who starts investing. They put $50 a month into an index fund. After 1 year, they've got $600. Not life-changing. After 5 years, maybe they've got a few thousand. Still not impressive. But after 20 years, they've got $100,000, maybe more, because of compound interest. Same principle applies to everything. Writing every day won't make you a best-selling author overnight, but after a year, you'll have a manuscript. After 5 years, you might have a career. Going to the gym 3 times a week won't give you abs in a month, but after a year, you'll have completely transformed your body. The problem is, most people never make it past the first few weeks. They quit right before the magic happens. That's the 4th compass point. Trust the process, even when you can't see the results yet. Core idea number 5, the environment trap. Now, here's something most self-help books ignore. Willpower is overrated. You've probably tried to rely on willpower before. You tell yourself, I'm just going to resist the cookies in the kitchen. I'm stronger than that. And maybe you are, for a day, maybe even a week. But eventually, willpower runs out, because willpower is a limited resource. Every time you resist a temptation, you drain a little bit of mental energy. And at the end of a long, stressful day, when you're tired and hungry, willpower is gone. That's when you eat the whole box of cookies. The consistency compass teaches you to stop relying on willpower and start designing your environment. Here's what that means. If you want to eat healthy, don't keep junk food in your house. If you want to read more, put a book on your pillow so you see it before bed. If you want to work on your goals, turn off your phone notifications. Your environment either supports your goals or sabotages them. There's no in between. Let me give you another story. There's a woman named Sarah. She's trying to start a side business, but every time she sits down to work, she gets distracted. Her phone buzzes, her kids need something, the TV's on in the background. She keeps blaming herself. I just need more discipline. But then she redesigns her environment. She creates a small workspace in the corner of her bedroom, just a desk and a chair. She puts her phone in another room. She tells her family, between 7 and 8 p.m., I'm working. Don't interrupt me unless it's an emergency. And suddenly, she's getting more done in 1 hour than she used to in a whole week. Not because she got more disciplined, because she removed the friction. That's the 5th compass point. Make good behavior easy and bad behavior hard. Psychology and brain science. So why does all of this actually work? Let's talk about your brain for a minute. But don't worry, I'm not going to hit you with a bunch of scientific jargon. I'm going to keep it simple. Your brain has 2 systems. Think of them like 2 different people living inside your head. System 1 is fast, emotional, and automatic. It's the part of your brain that makes snap decisions. It's what tells you to hit the snooze button, eat the donut, skip the workout. System 1 is running the show most of the time because it's efficient. It conserves energy. System 2 is slow, logical, and deliberate. It's the part of your brain that plans, analyzes, and thinks long-term. It's what tells you to wake up early, eat healthy, go to the gym. But System 2 requires effort, and your brain hates effort. So here's the problem. When you rely on motivation or willpower, you're asking System 2 to fight System 1 every single day, and System 2 is going to lose. It always does. But when you build systems, routines, and environments that support your goals, you're training System 1 to work for you instead of against you. For example, if you go to the gym at the same time every day, eventually System 1 takes over. You don't have to think about it, you just go. It becomes automatic. That's the power of consistency. You're not fighting your brain, you're reprogramming it. And here's the beautiful part. The more you repeat a behavior, the stronger the neural pathway becomes. It's like walking through a forest. The first time, you have to push through bushes and branches. But if you walk the same path every day, eventually there's a clear trail. Your brain works the same way. That's why the first 2 weeks of any new habit are brutal, but after that, it gets easier. And after a few months, it's effortless. All right, let's get practical. How do you actually use these ideas in your real life? If you're working a 9 to 5 and feel stuck, start with micro actions. Don't try to overhaul your entire life. Pick one small thing you can do every day that moves you closer to your goal. Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a book before bed. Maybe it's spending 15 minutes learning a new skill. Just one thing. Do it every single day for 30 days. If you feel unmotivated and can't seem to get started, remember, motivation follows action, not the other way around. Don't wait to feel like it. Just do the smallest version of the task. Open the document, put on your shoes, send one email. Once you start, momentum kicks in. If you want discipline but keep breaking promises to yourself, shift your identity. Stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined." Start saying, "I'm someone who follows through," and then prove it to yourself with small wins. Every time you do what you said you'd do, you reinforce that new identity. If you want long-term success but get impatient, focus on the process, not the outcome. Measure your success by how consistent you are, not by how fast you see results. Track your daily actions, celebrate showing up. Trust that the compound effect is working, even when you can't see it yet. If your environment keeps sabotaging you, redesign it. Make it impossible to fail. Remove distractions. Set up triggers that remind you of your goals. Surround yourself with people who support your vision, not people who pull you back down. Transformation section. Let me paint you 2 pictures. Picture 1, life before the consistency compass. You wake up with good intentions, but by noon you've already given up. You scroll through social media and see people succeeding, which makes you feel worse about yourself. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. You feel stuck, frustrated, like you're running in place. You've got dreams, but they feel impossible. You've got potential, but it's buried under procrastination and self-doubt. You go to bed disappointed in yourself, promising that this time will be different, but deep down, you don't believe it. Picture 2, life after applying the book. You wake up and follow your routine. It's not always easy, but you show up anyway. You take small actions every day, and over time, you start to see progress. Not overnight, not next week, but gradually. You stop relying on motivation and start trusting your system. You become someone who keeps promises to yourself. People start noticing the change. They ask what you're doing differently. You're calmer, more confident, more focused, and the best part? You're not hoping for a better life anymore. You're building it, one day at a time. That's the transformation the consistency compass offers. Not a quick fix, not a magic pill, but a real, sustainable path to becoming the person you've always wanted to be. FAQ section. What is the consistency compass about? It's a book that teaches you how to build lasting habits and show up consistently, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. It breaks down the psychology behind why people fail to stick with their goals and gives you a clear, actionable system to finally follow through on what you say you're going to do. Is this book worth reading? Absolutely. If you've ever struggled with procrastination, if you've ever set a goal and quit a week later, if you've ever felt like you have potential but can't seem to unlock it, this book is for you. It's not just theory, it's practical, it's honest, and it's written by someone who's been in your shoes. Who should read this book? Anyone who wants to improve their life but feels stuck. Whether you're trying to build a business, get in shape, learn a new skill, or just become more disciplined, this book will help you. It's especially useful for people who are tired of motivational fluff and want a real system that works. What is the main lesson of the book? That consistency beats motivation every single time. You don't need to feel inspired to take action. You just need a system, a clear identity, and an environment that supports your goals. Small actions repeated daily create massive results over time. How can beginners apply these ideas? Start small. Pick one habit. Make it so easy you can't say no. Do it every day for 30 days. Don't worry about results. Just focus on showing up. Once that habit becomes automatic, add another one. Build slowly. Build sustainably. How long before you see results? That depends on what you're working towards. But here's the truth. You probably won't see dramatic results in the first few weeks. That's normal. The compound effect takes time. But if you stay consistent, you'll start noticing changes within a few months. And after a year, you'll look back and barely recognize the person you used to be. Can this book help with motivation? Yes, but not in the way you think. It doesn't pump you up with temporary inspiration. Instead, it teaches you how to take action without needing motivation at all. It shows you how to build systems that work even on your worst days. What makes this book different from other self-help books? It's not preachy. It's not written by someone who's never struggled. Ladder Up gets it. They understand what it's like to fail, to feel stuck, to keep breaking promises to yourself. And instead of giving you a one-size-fits-all solution, they give you tools you can adapt to your own life. Does the book talk about specific habits to build?
The book focuses more on the framework than specific habits, which is actually better. Because once you understand the system, you can apply it to anything: fitness, career, relationships, learning, creativity. It's universal. Is this book just about productivity? No, it's about becoming the kind of person who follows through. It's about building self-trust. It's about designing a life you don't need to escape from. Productivity is part of it, but it's really about transformation. Can this help if you failed at building habits before? 100%. In fact, that's exactly who this book is for. If you've tried and failed a dozen times, this book will show you why. It's not that you're broken, it's that you were using the wrong approach. Once you understand how your brain works and how to work with it instead of against it, everything changes. What if you don't have a lot of time? That's the beauty of micro actions. You don't need hours, you need minutes. The book teaches you how to make progress even when life is chaotic. It's designed for real people with real lives, not for people who have unlimited free time. How do you stay consistent when life gets hard? The book addresses this head on. It teaches you how to build flexibility into your system. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent enough. Even on your worst days, you can do something, and that something keeps the momentum alive. What if you're a perfectionist? Then this book is especially important for you. Perfectionism is one of the biggest obstacles to consistency. The book teaches you to embrace imperfect action, to value progress over perfection, and to stop letting the fear of doing it wrong keep you from doing it at all. Can you apply this to multiple areas of life at once? You can, but the book recommends starting with one area first. Master consistency in one habit, and it becomes easier to apply the same principles to other areas. Trying to change everything at once usually leads to burnout. Here's the thing about life: nobody's coming to save you. I know that sounds harsh, but it's also liberating. Because if nobody's coming to save you, that means you have all the power. You get to decide, you get to choose, you get to take control. And the way you take control isn't by making some massive dramatic change overnight. It's by showing up today, and then tomorrow, and then the next day. It's by becoming someone who keeps promises to yourself, someone who values progress over perfection, someone who understands that success isn't about talent or luck or motivation, it's about consistency. The consistency compass is your guide. It's the map you didn't know you needed. And the best part? You can start using it today, right now, this moment. You don't need to wait for Monday. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You just need to take one small step, one micro action, one tiny decision that moves you closer to the person you want to become. Because here's the truth: a year from now, you're either going to wish you started today, or you're going to be grateful that you did. So what's it going to be? If this resonated with you, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button for Ladder Up English. We're building a community of people who are done making excuses and ready to take action. People who understand that growth isn't easy, but it's worth it. And if you got value from this, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message, someone who's stuck, someone who's struggling, someone who's one good decision away from changing their life. Drop a comment below and let me know, what's the one micro action you're going to take today? What's the one small step you're committing to right now? Remember, you don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent. And if you can do that, everything changes. Thanks for being here, thanks for choosing growth, and I'll see you in the next one. Now go, build the life you deserve, one day at a time.